at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, it is great to be back in studio, but I got to tell you, man, last week, probably one of the best vacations I have ever had.
I see you picked up a shirt.
You like it. You like it.
It says, in bold white lettering, ask me about my favorite giraffe. Please explain.
I got to feed the giraffe in New York. Both of them.
April
and Oliver.
is Oliver April's baby.
Yeah. No. Oliver is April's man.
Oh, these are the giraffes that you and Carolyn watch religiously via live stream on YouTube
when she was having a baby
for the past 2-3 years.
And it wasn't me; it was the wife. And it was an anniversary gift. I thought it'd be cool for her to visit the giraffe that she followed for a number of months.
So you got to see the giraffe. I also know that you got to go fishing on Lake Oneida with a BTL listener.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was going to work out because of the schedule. Things were crazy, but I ended up going out with Tom, who lives right there on Lake Oneida. Went out, and what was crazy, true story, dude, he goes, we're going to move to this next spot. And we go to move to the next spot, and guess who's on that spot?
Jamie Hartman.
Jamie Hartman, up there practicing, doing whatever, hanging out before the next part of the swing, all right? And I sent Jamie a text, and I said, hey, I came all the way from Oklahoma, and you're on the best spot in the lake. Get out of the way, or said something like that. And he answered back, and, LOL, blah, 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 cracking up. And then, I don't know, about an hour and a half later, I turn around and I look, and there is this giant black just quadrant of smoke.
A plume.
Coming from a boat that was on fire.
Billowing.
Yeah. And then the next thing I know, I turn, and this is a long ways away. I mean, we weren't near it. We were on the west end of the lake. Mm-hmm. This was kind of in the central eastern part of the lake that the fire was taking place with this boat. And then we get off the water, and Tom sends me a link to the report that Jamie actually saved a couple people from that burning ship. I call it a ship. It was like a 40-foot yacht or something like that. And the thing sunk.
Wow. Just
caught on fire, and Jamie was a hero, and it was pretty cool.
Adding to the list of professional anglers who have turned into lifesavers. I remember James Niggemeyer saved some guys' lives a couple years ago that had fallen out of the boat. There's a couple other instances. I mean, it should happen because as professional bass anglers, they're on the water in a lot of compromising situations and on the water a lot more than the weekend guys.
So it was very, very, very cool to see what Jamie did and to help those people out. And in the story, the comment from the local newspaper there, the owner of the boat said, "Thank God I had insurance." So he will be up and running soon, hopefully with a new vessel. But they had no idea what caused the fire or anything like that. They were safe. They were more shaken up than anything else. But we ended up, we caught some smallmouth. I caught a 10-pound smallmouth. Had a little bitty mouth on it.
Little drum.
Little drum.
That was a nice picture. Have you ever had a boat that caught on fire? I know you've had a boat that's been stolen.
Yeah.
I know you've had a boat that's come off the trailer hitch. You haven't had a boat fire. Neither have I. I've had a back in the day, I had a trolling motor burst into flames. Like the foot pedal actually
caught on fire.
Like I hit the foot pedal and I'm like, something's not working here. And all of a sudden it went boom, flames.
All right, we're going to get back to some of the other stuff that I experienced while on vacation, but I want to let everybody know today we're going to have Mark Menendez on. I thought it would be a great idea to get him on and talk about his visit to Congress in Washington, D.C., and I talked to him for about, 5-10 minutes when I was on vacation getting the show set up for this week, and some interesting takes that he's going to have on his visit. And I flat out asked him, we talked about this when we saw the picture.
You're obsessed with this.
What the hell are you doing wearing a jersey when you go to Congress? And he said, we'll talk about it. Said he had a suit, said he was all set. I said, no. I don't want to hear it now. I want to hear it on the show.
We're going to see Pelosi in a skeeter.
So he's gonna talk about the experience and talk about the ongoing quest, and it is a battle. There's a ton of work still remains to try and get this situation under control. And then I also want to bring up, there's a listener, his name is Jay Newton, sent me an email, and we're going to get into some of the stuff that he sent me on some of the things that are taking place at Kentucky Lake that he wanted me to ask Mark about.
They're catching some fish.
I haven't noticed. I have no idea.
I got a buddy who's down there who's been catching quite a few. You see Terry Bolton just won like a FLW benefit deal tournament down there.
So hopefully it's getting better. I know they're harvesting a ton of those things on the commercial market.
Silverfin, I believe, according to Mark's latest blog on the Bassmaster website, is what they're calling them in the restaurants.
All right, then tomorrow, quite the cool event took place over the weekend on the James River. Mike Iaconelli getting it done, winning the Open on a body of water that has really bit him in the past. He's been in the hunt. He's been in position to win events on a body of water that is very, very close to where he lives, but he was never able to get it done. He got it done this weekend, and there's actually a cup taking place this week on the MLF side.
In New York.
Somewhere.
It's in New York.
Yeah.
The guys have been saying that they're headed to New York. They're just not saying
somewhere
where it
in
is.
New York.
It's the second cup, so it's the cup that the 30 anglers qualified for through stage 3 and 4 of the Bass Pro Tour this past year.
He told me that he is tied up today.
Oh, so Ike's fishing in that cup.
Yes.
So he wins on the James, and he has to go up and fish in the cup.
Then he left for the cup, but he is going to be available tomorrow, so we're going to have him on. It's not going to be Skype or anything. It's just going to be phone to get his take on what went down at the James River and really kind of sum up his season so far. And then on Wednesday, this came highly recommended from a number of viewers, Matthew. What do you know about this guy?
Depends who the guy is.
The guy we're having on Wednesday.
Who's that?
Did you not look at the schedule?
I did not look that far ahead.
Come on, man. Rookie of the year on the FLW side.
Oh, I don't know much about him, but he
Ron Nelson.
Ron Nelson. Yeah. He comes off as a super mellow, approachable, likable guy from what I've seen.
Yeah. No sponsors. Has no sponsors, is what I've been told by some of the people that wanted me to get him on the show, and that's part of the reason why they wanted me to get him on the show is he had such a great season on the FLW Tour, especially the last 3 stops. I think his worst finish, the last 3 stops, was a 16th, maybe.
No, he had a great year. So he's getting ready for the Cup then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is in 2 weeks.
Yes. All right. So Ron Nelson on Wednesday. So another great week of guests. And then, as I mentioned before I went on vacation, I'm working on getting some people on that we haven't had on the show for a long time. But due to everything that's taken place, a lot of stuff going on, getting ready for the Red Crest, getting ready for other things, I'm still working on that. All right.
I had a busy week too while you were off gallivanting about New York.
Oh, I'm not done with New York, my friend, but go ahead.
We'll trade stories then. I'll tell one thing I did that you could tell one thing you did in New York.
All right.
I went to the Bass Cat dealer meeting.
It was in Branson.
Guess what they had there?
I know what they had.
They had the Jaguar. I believe that's a 22-foot boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
With a 450 Merc racing engine on it.
That's pretty insane.
Now, I did not get to ride it. I did get to film it as it went ripped back.
What did it sound like?
I mean,
did it sound like a race car? You know how some of those racing engines?
Well, I mean, it's the new 4-stroke Mercs.
Okay.
And it was the racing engine. I think it was the 4-stroke. It looked like it. It sounded mean and looked mean. And I guess it could get up in the upper 80s, 90s, but all these dealers were out there. I mean, I'm guessing that it's got to be the biggest engine that's ever been put on a bass boat. Have you ever heard of anything more than 450?
No.
I know we're with Bass Cat. I'm not like pumping Bass Cat here, but these guys like literally had like permagrins on their face when they came in after Ryan did that. I mean, the thing was just wild.
Well, it doesn't matter, man. It's 450 horses, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I mean,
That's insane.
You can't fish at FLW or bass with it, but I mean, if you're like an oil tycoon down in Texas who has better toys contest, you could probably win if you got that in your garage.
You know, I remember seeing a pontoon that had Trip 250s on it.
Yeah.
You ever seen a picture of that?
No, I've seen the twins, but anyway, so that's one of my stories from last week. Now let's hear another New York story.
One of the most fascinating things that I saw on the trip was we spent one night in Binghamton, New York, which is right off and forgive me the way I'm saying it because I know I'm not going to say it. I think it's Susquehanna.
The Susquehanna?
Susquehanna
the
River.
Susquehanna River, yeah.
Okay. It goes right through Binghamton. Well, as we were coming back from dinner one night, there was a dude standing on the bridge in a raincoat, standing by a bicycle that had a stringer of smallmouth, walleye, catfish,
pike.
I don't think he had a pike on there. Okay, but he's on the Clinton Street Bridge in Binghamton, and this bridge is probably 40 yards maybe above the river.
40 yards? 120 feet.
Yeah. So he was catching these fish and winching them in.
Wait, that's 12 stories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Winching them in on an ugly stick with 10-pound test on a jig head with a worm. Not a plastic worm, but
a crawler.
A crawler. All right. And this dude was awesome. And his name was Fishman Jack. All right, here, and I'm going to throw up a picture of him here real quick. Let's see. All right. If you're listening on iTunes,
there's is that the stringer tied to the bike? That's
the stringer.
Yeah, you actually FaceTimed me during this, and the guy
it was awesome.
Catching them every cast.
It was awesome, but that bridge is at least 40 yards above. Well, anyway, he actually has a message for you, Matthew. All right, after we did the FaceTime thing, and let's see if
what are you doing harassing this guy just try to catch fish, Mark?
Let's see, I'm going to have to do, let's see here. All right, I'm going to go away so you can listen to this. Hang on.
Fishman Jack, Matt ain't got nothing on me.
He ain't got nothing on you, dude.
No, that's a nice stringer of fish. That's what it's all about. Going to the bridge, catching the multi-species. Lake Crisco, here they come.
He was awesome, though. Used to be a boxer. Had been there since 1982. He is the only person allowed to fish from the Clinton Street Bridge. That's what he told me. The other thing he said is he had a cell phone in his pocket. Dude, he had thousands of pictures of fish that he has caught off this bridge. All right, the other thing is I said, how do you know, like, where to throw your worm at and throw the jig and all this and everything? And he goes, see this? And he showed me his cell phone. He goes, see this? He goes, they call me. That's how I know. The fish call me. And his phone rang, and he goes, see there? There's one right there. Freaking threw down there. Jigged it a little bit. Nobody home. And then all of a sudden, I'm standing there talking to the guy, and he goes, that's about enough for today.
That's because you were practically
time to go.
Harassing.
No, so I told him, I go, Fishman Jack, man, greatly appreciate it. This has been awesome. And I'm walking away. The next thing I know, he is like sprinting toward me going, hey, what was your name again? What was your name again? And I told him, and he goes, all right. He goes, I appreciate you talking to me. Turned around and walked away.
Very nice.
So Fishman Jack, if you're ever in Binghamton, New York, he's going to be fishing from the Clinton Street Bridge. And, dude, there wasn't that much water. That's what was amazing. There wasn't that much water in that river. And he was just absolutely smashing them. All right. In addition to that, I'm going to throw this out there, too. One of the things that we did, we went to the very bottom of Cayuga. You know, it runs north and south. Do you know what's at the southern end of Cayuga Lake? Any idea?
Grass?
No. It is a landmark.
No.
You have no idea? It's in Ithaca, New York.
I don't know.
Cornell University.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I had never been to an Ivy League school before.
Yeah, impressive.
That campus, one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever seen in my life. It is just intertwining in these hills, and it was unbelievable. I was like mesmerized just walking around there. And folks, don't think I'm weird, but part of the reason why I wanted to go to Cornell is the fraternity that I was in at the University of Oklahoma. That is where the fraternity was founded, and the original fraternity house back from 18 whatever was actually still there. So I took some pictures of it, and we walked around campus, had lunch there. They had like a campus corner. But a lot of smart people roaming around that place, dude.
I was trying to think, are there any Ivy League graduates who have fished professionally? Is there anybody on tour who went to Harvard, Yale?
I mean,
didn't Kennedy get into
Kennedy got
League?
accepted to MIT.
Yeah, it's not Ivy League though.
No.
But are there any, there's got to be that we don't know. Because a lot of people have.
Do any of the Ivy League schools have fishing teams?
That's another great question. A Harvard Bass. I mean, that would be a great location for one, would it not?
Yeah. Well,
it'll be interesting
Cornell,
to see.
Right there at the bottom of...
That's what I meant, Cornell.
Yeah.
I also then last week had the opportunity to go to Lake Hamilton, the playing field for the Forest Wood Cup coming up in a week. I did some freelance work for FLW and spent a day with one of the anglers in the cup, not fishing, just shooting photographs of the lake.
What'd it look like?
It's small.
It's tiny.
7,200 acres.
Yeah, it's tiny.
And they get 4 days of practice.
It's going to get pounded.
It is the tubing capital of the world. I was there on a Friday, and I mean, every pontoon boat, jet ski, and ski boat had a tube behind it, or someone skiing or something. I mean, and then all the docks had people like in the water enjoying libation. It's going to be real interesting to see how that goes down.
I agree. It's coming up.
But you can get lost on it. There's a ton of different shoreline, but a bunch of different stuff that they could do there. But you're going to earn it.
Yeah.
The $300,000 that comes with the win.
No, I agree.
So
I agree. All right. Couple more things, and then we're going to take a break and come back with Mark Menendez. We went to Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And
my guy saw the selfie.
Yeah, we were all the way. We took the boat and went all the way up. It's called the Maid of the Mist or the Mist of the Maid or something. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, you go right up next to the falls. And the thing that I could not get out of my brain was that show that Mercer did on the Niagara River.
Catching the steelhead.
Yeah.
Or that trout, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like that show. I know it didn't have a whole lot of glam to it, but that is one of my favorite shows that Mercer has done. And while we were on the river there, that's all I could freaking think about.
Very cool. Also, before we go to break with Menendez, want to wish Steve Kennedy happy International Tiger Day.
What?
It's International Tiger Day.
Okay. He happens to be an Auburn Tiger, though.
But
not an international tiger.
It's International Tiger Day.
So all across the world, it is International Tiger Day.
Yeah. They have like Ice Cream Day.
Yeah. I think today is Chicken Wing Day. Seriously.
And Tiger Day.
I think so. I think it's like National Chicken Wing Day. Anyway. All right. The last thing I want to mention, I did DVR. We mentioned it earlier in the show about the cup that's taking place. The Red Crest on the MLF side is getting ready to happen at the end of August. But Jacob Wheeler put on a freaking clinic for the first period in case anybody did happen to watch this over the weekend on CBS. I DVR'd it. It was over after the first period. Done. Finished. All right. If you go back to the show that we did last year after the championship, I'm going to say the same thing this year that I said last year. It was an epic produced piece for the fishing fan. It was very, very well done for the fishing fan. For the person that knew what the heck was going on and what tournament bass fishing was and what MLF was, phenomenal.
Now, this has nothing to do with the Bass Pro Tour. It was
no, this is all
the World Championship that was based off of the cups from last year.
Right.
Wheeler won one of the cups. I think he was a select angler, wasn't he? Even?
At one time,
got
yes.
in. He's not even ranked, and he won the World Championship. Unrelated to anything that they fished this year, just like the last cup that he won was unrelated to anything that they fished this year.
But listen to me, Matthew. They paid an enormous amount of money to have that on CBS.
Was it on right before the golf came on?
I don't know, because I DVR'd it. I don't know. I watched it for 10 minutes, and I tried to watch it as an individual that didn't know anything about what was going on, because what other reason would you have it on CBS if you don't want to expand your audience, bring in people that just don't know about what's taking place in the world of professional fishing? It was 10 minutes in. Heck, you didn't even know what they were fishing for.
They're fishing for the World Championship, dude.
No, I'm talking about species.
Oh.
Fish. All right? Major League Fishing. Okay, what are they fishing for?
Well, that's tough. I mean, what do you make it so simple that you're making the fishing fans bored?
That's not what is it not the premise that you want this on a national network to get the exposure to the fans that do not know anything about Major League Fishing? Is that not one of the objectives?
Yes, it is.
Okay? All I'm saying is that show was enormously well produced from a fishing fan perspective. But for somebody that was just channel surfing or somebody that just got through watching whatever preceded the Major League Fishing Championship, they had no clue what was going on.
Well, that's the conundrum that we've seen develop over the years, or over this year, especially with the Bass Pro Tour.
But they've got experience now, Matt.
Desire to bring in the...
They know that they want to try and pull in this audience that doesn't know anything about bass fishing. That's why it's on CBS. That's a big reason. Mm-hmm. You're pulling in an audience that isn't watching it on the Outdoor Channel or the Pursuit Channel or whatever channel. This is your opportunity to showcase what you guys do, but more importantly, explain and give people a reason why they should become engaged in this game. And in my opinion, that was not accomplished once again. You're just shaking your head. What are you looking at?
That was a big-ass trophy.
It was big. Super big. All right?
Does it lose some of the cachet since it was pre-recorded?
Think so.
I think it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
It snuck up on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, they try to do a good job letting everybody know on social media and all the other avenues that they have to communicate what's taking place. But I have a really, really difficult time trying to understand why you would spend that much money and put it on a national network and not at least somewhat try and explain exactly what this game is about.
Yeah, you said you only watched 10 minutes of it. Maybe they spent the other 50.
I watched the whole thing.
You did? Okay.
I said I didn't find out until 10 minutes into it.
I got you.
What the heck was actually going on? But if I knew, if I was a fishing fan, it was badass.
Well, what you really need to do is you need to get 10 people with a notepad and paper who don't watch fishing and have them sit down and watch it. And
I would love to do that.
They have a question, just have them jot it down on the notepad at the end and then see how many of the, if all 10 had a question of what are they fishing for?
Yeah.
Or what is the format, or how does it, I mean, these guys have been doing this now since, 2011? They're 10 years into producing the television shows for the Cups.
And they do just an amazing job for the fishing fan.
So obviously this far in, if they thought that was an issue, they would have addressed it. So maybe it's...
Am I just totally out in left field then?
No.
What's your thoughts?
No, I agree. I mean, when I turn on, like I said, when I turn on the motocross, I don't really understand what's going on. I still enjoy watching them go around the track and jumping, and that there's a guy who's winning. Now, do I understand exactly what's going on? No. Does it draw me in to want to follow it? No. But if it's on, I'll watch it because it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think that you get a lot of the people that do the same thing that fish once or twice.
I'm not trying to take away anything from what they've done because, like I said, for somebody that knew what was going on and somebody that was a fishing fan, it was outstanding.
Let me ask you this before we go to break.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Bigger news story this past weekend. Mike Iaconelli winning the Open on the James River, the Bassmaster Eastern Open.
Yeah.
Or the show airing where we find out that Jacob Wheeler wins the MLF World Championship. If you had to rank them 1 and 2.
Iaconelli.
A Bassmaster Open win, jackpotted by a professional angler who does not get the win in you're in because he could not fish all of them, is bigger than the MLF World Championship that aired on CBS, in your opinion?
Yes. What's your thoughts?
That's why I asked you. I was curious to see what you would think.
What's your thoughts? Is that a bigger story?
You know, I looked at the social media just on like Instagram and stuff, and Wheeler got a lot more likes and comments on it. I don't know how much MLF pushed that post there, but yeah, I think there was a big kind of, even though it's been a year, nostalgia factor with Iaconelli winning that.
Because he's an MLF guy.
Yep.
And he won it on one of his home
waters,
yeah.
And it's Mike Iaconelli, and he had the longest active classic streak that's not going to continue going into this year.
Yeah.
And he's won the Bass Nation, the Federation Championship, been a Federation angler. So, no, I agree with you. I think for the hardcore fishing fan, the tournament angler, the Ike story was a big deal. I know I was trying to watch it. Now the Bassmaster feed froze right before Iaconelli weighed in, which was disappointing.
Yeah.
But
I know there's some conspiracy theories out there that was done on purpose.
That Bass intentionally dropped the feed because he's with MLF?
I don't think so.
No, I think Bass rolls out the red carpet and says, look at how green the grass is back over here. I mean, we've been using the Scotch Guard turf builder to look at our grass is green and lush. Come on home, Mike.
I know. All right, coming back with Mark Menendez. Everybody stay tuned on a Monday.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves, could even be a hurricane. I got my power pole down.
AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Sunline. It's Siglon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Sunline braid. I honestly, this is, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly, it's the best braid in the market of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. It's Siglon PE x8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too.
Blue Water by TH Marine, offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
Fishman Jack. Matt ain't got nothing on me.
All right, we are back, kicking off the week here on a Monday. Renewed vigor and enthusiasm. That's what we have.
Yeah, I'm more interested in what Mark Menendez did in Washington, what he said. You're more interested in what he wore.
That's not true. That's not true. All right. I'm interested in all aspects of his recent trip to the Capitol on quite the situation that has been discussed numerous times on this show, has been discussed numerous times on other media outlets covering the game of professional fishing. And I just want to see what the take was. In the early discussions that I had with Mark, he said, we still have a lot of work to do.
It's hard to believe, if you said this 10 years ago, that there would be a professional bass angler on Capitol Hill meeting with lawmakers about carp. You would be like, huh?
I know. All right, let's bring him in. Mark, you there, man?
I'm here. How about it, guys?
All right. Good Monday to you. Thanks for taking time out. And when I spoke to you last week, I thought it'd be a great idea to have you come on and just kind of give us some insight on your visit to Capitol Hill and some of the challenges that the entire industry is facing on the Asian carp situation. But more importantly, just the environment, the attitude, the situation in the eyes of people on Capitol Hill. So why don't you just kind of jump into it, talk about how this whole thing came about, and then jump into what took place when you did arrive at the Hill.
Well, we're not at a lost cause. I want that to be known immediately. Our government, I knew our government was very intricately wound, and this hand reached to that hand and back and forth, and is wired and it takes forever to get anything done. I'd like to say that there are two people that if we ever get this situation rectified, they need to be sainted, or they need to be given the keys to the kingdom, and that is Ron Brooks, the fisheries head from the state of Kentucky. He has done more work on Capitol Hill than anyone else. And then locally in my area, Judge Wade White, County Judge Executive of Lyon County, he has here on the boots, got his boots on the ground here in Western Kentucky, and he's gotten more done here than anybody that I know of. So I want to say thanks to them for all their efforts. I knew government was slow, guys, but I had no idea that it had to go from here to there to there to there to there to there to there before anybody went, oh, yeah, I remember somebody talking about that. So what we need to do as anglers is mobilize every person that Bass Talk Live reaches, that Bassmaster Magazine reaches, that FLW Magazine reaches, and everyone needs to write a letter. I know it takes time, but just write a letter to your congresspeople and your senators and say, hey, guys, we're concerned about this. What are you doing in my area? They need to hear it from their constituency right now. They're hearing it from people like me. They're hearing it from Ron Brooks. They're hearing it from Wade White. They're hearing it, but they need to hear it from their base. And we need to mobilize that immediately to keep this topic hot up there. It's moving along. I had meetings with multiple senators, multiple congressmen, federal fish and wildlife officials. There were 7 of them in a room, and they all wanted to talk bass fishing. I had a lot of fun in there, but it's moving. Now, there are multiple pots of money out there that are designated by the federal government to fight Asian carp, but how do we get those together to make an absolute difference is where I'm stuck at right now.
So how did the whole thing come about? I mean, how much time and effort did it take to even get you to the Hill?
Well, this was done through Yamaha, through Right Waters, their conservation acts, and so they had the logistics all done. We had a person to get us from meeting to meeting. She had set up, Heather Hennessy had set up meetings. And we had 9 meetings in one day, and then I was to speak at the NMMA Boating Caucus, Congressional Boating Caucus, on this very thing. Who sat next to me on my right-hand side was Ron Brooks from Kentucky, and then the Great Lakes person was there as well. So I had 2 days up there, but I had 9 meetings in one day. So I'm sure the logistics of all that took a lot of it, but I was lucky enough to have that predicated for me, and I just walked right in and managed all that.
So what was the initial response from the congressmen and the representatives?
Well, I had 2 meetings with my Kentucky congressman. I met with Mitch McConnell, and I had been with him about 6 weeks ago at a workshop meeting here in Western Kentucky. And I was quite surprised that he jumped right into our conversation that we had 6 weeks ago. I mean, Mark dead to the, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And I was like, yes, sir, I have. I'm promoting it on my television show, showing that Kentucky Lake is not dead. And Kentucky Lake is not dead. There's plenty of fish up there. It took 19 to win a tournament here this weekend, 17 to win another tournament, and that's in the dog days of August, that's pretty normal when we had a lot of fish. So, but meeting with him and his staff, he has gotten money for Western Kentucky. He got a $600,000. We're waiting on a $25,000 $25 million appropriation for this part of the world, and we have actions going on. We're going to have a sound device put on Barkley Dam here. Hopefully, it will be by October. I was on the river yesterday, and the water's still really high, so they have not put that acoustical fence up there, fish fence up there yet on Barkley. And Kentucky Dam is going to be shutting down for commercial traffic locking in and out here shortly because we're working on a secondary lock, and they need those locks shut. So we're going to have the influx to the Tennessee and the Cumberland slowed down to a mere trickle so we can work on the commercial fishing efforts that we have going to get the production up, to get as many fish as we can and get them out. So the other thing that Senator McConnell and I talked about was the unified method of netting. And this is a method that was developed in China. It is a highly, highly effective method to start selecting these fish out of our waters. And we're going to do that in the fall and winter when the water's cold and the fish get off the main lake and they get in the bays, and we can round these dudes up and get them out of the lake. Now, I met with Representative Comer, who is my first district representative here in Kentucky, and he has Kentucky Lake, Barkley Lake, Barron, Green River, Dale Hollow, and Kentucky and Cumberland Lake in his district. So he's got all the waters, all the major impoundments in Kentucky, and Representative Comer is on board. He's doing everything he possibly can. He's really active because that is where Wade White's county is in the first district. So we can see how that all ties through. I met with Buddy Carter from Georgia, and was actually on the Potomac River with him, and we talked quite a bit about it. Our time got cut short there because he had to get back for a vote. But the interesting thing is we met with lots of staffers and lots of committee heads, and you can see a vector forming because every staffer and committee head was really optimistic and looking for the go for their senators to and their senatorial committee members to say, okay, we're moving this direction, we're doing this. So it is in play. But again, I go back to all the anglers and all the people listening to this to push their senators and congresspeople and get those letters to them because they've got to hear from the constituents to even put more fuel to the fire.
Mark, do you think that there is an emphasis, and I don't want to say a huge emphasis because there's so many issues that Congress is dealing with right now, but there in Kentucky and the surrounding areas, do you think that the congressional contacts, the representatives, and the senators and everybody really understands what the economic impact is with this situation that's taken place?
Well, they do right now because we've lost a considerable amount of the tourism dollars that come into this area. The 15 counties that border Kentucky and Barkley Lakes in Kentucky alone are down 35 to 40%. Now, that's to the tune of about $180 million a year in those 15 counties. So you knock off a third of that, that's $60 million. That affects a lot of people in this small area where tourism is such a big industry, and most of that being bass fishing. So they're starting to hear it from business owners and the folks in the counties that are taking in the taxes, and they're seeing those tax dollars go down. So it's starting to be felt here quickly, and they can see that if that goes to every county that marries up against the Mississippi River and they lose 30% of their income, that we've got a problem here that I don't know if we can write this check or not, Mark. But it is actively being sought out. I mean, they're bickering and fighting amongst themselves on the president's language. We were there that day. I was supposed to go in Rand Paul's office after he had just voted against the 9/11 survivorship bill, and they had that locked down. There was a very vocal demonstration in the halls of Congress directed at Rand Paul's office, so I was not able to speak to him at that time. So there's a lot of infighting going on, as we know, in this political climate that we have right now. So it's taking efforts like mine, it's taking efforts like Yamaha's to get in there and keep this bell being run. Ron Brooks from the state of Kentucky has been doing this for about 7 to 8 years, and he says he has been ushered out of offices time and time and time again. We'll get this done, we'll get this done, and knowing nothing was going to happen. But now he's really getting some traction. He's really got everyone's attention as to the problem. And I'm telling you, he is the superstar. He's the rock star in my mind.
Mark, how many other, area anglers around that Kentucky Lake area have taken a vested interest in this like you have? I know there's, guys who rely on guides, crappie fishermen, other tournament bass anglers. I mean, are there a group of you guys, or is it everybody who just kind of is like, yeah, go speak on our behalf? Or
No, we had with Senator Comer, we did a congressional hearing, in 18, and we had 400 people attend that. And that was everyone from FLW officials were there, guides, many local bass fishermen were there, a couple professional anglers were there, business owners. So it's not just me trying to fight this. We're trying to fight it from every angle we possibly can to get some things moving. And when we get this fence put up, the bioacoustical fish fence, called a BAFF, B-A-F-F, over on Barkley, then we're going to have a chance to slow this down and get this done. Now, what we do have here, and one of the fears that most people saw, that once these fish get monetized, it's an industry, and this is going to be here to stay. And the initial hopes were to get in, mash them, catch them, whatever it takes to get those numbers down so that we can manage them and this not become an industry. But by gosh, it's quickly turning into a money-making deal for a lot of people. We have a fish processing place here that's over 2 million pounds this calendar year. It went into effect in January. We've got fish subsidies. We've got a federal subsidy. We've got a state subsidy. And in Lyon County, there's even a county subsidy for these guys to catch these fish in Kentucky and Barkley Lakes. And in Lyon County alone, that little 4-cent subsidy, the local marina owners are saying they're seeing less Asian carp in their waters of Lyon County than they've been seeing. Is that a fact that they've moved? Is that a fact that we caught millions of pounds out of there? I don't know, but they're not seeing as many on the lake as on Barkley Lake right now in Lyon County.
All right. I want to let everybody know out there, I've got some fishing questions for Mark here in a few minutes. So I know there's been a couple of questions on the instant feedback fishing-wise that we want to get to. So we'll do that here in a minute. But my last question, actually I have two questions. First, we discussed this when I set the interview up, Mark, and the photo that I saw of you on the hill, you were wearing a tournament jersey. And I asked you, why are you wearing a tournament jersey instead of a suit when you are meeting with congressional folks? And you were going to give me a response, and I was like, no, save it for the show. Save it for the show. So tell everybody, explain to everybody why you were in a tournament jersey when you were on the hill.
Well, if I had worn a suit, I'd have just been one more suit. And when you come walking up with that Skeeter Yamaha blazing jersey that I have that's bright red, it makes a damn impact. People look at you funny, and they're like, what is this? Is this guy a race car driver, or what's the deal? But it was amazing how each person that I went to talk to was really vested in our conversation, really engaged, and it was because I looked so different than everybody else they talked to. It was pretty simple. That tournament jersey is very vivid and very loud, and it gave me a security and the ability that's what we were there to talk about. You see groups up there with whatever their cause is and T-shirts and things like that, and you immediately notice them as being different versus an individual in a suit. I had a suit packed ready to go, but I decided against that and wore the tournament jersey to have the credibility of what I do for a living and how much it means to me. So I was really, really thrilled to get their attention that way.
Did it actually turn into a conversation piece with some of the staff?
I had so the Fish and Wildlife officials, all of them are avid outdoorsmen or outdoors women, and we had a great conversation. And one fellow there was, Mark, we need to be on the Potomac River. And I said, no, Mr. Aurelio, no, not right now. And he comes back, we need, and I said, no, Bobby, it's high tide. We need to be out there at low tide, and I'll be happy to go when the tide gets lower. That cracked them all up, but that also set the form that I knew what I was talking about. And now let's get into this Asian carp problem. And we had a very successful meeting with Fish and Wildlife.
All right. My last question comes from a viewer that sent me an email. His name's Jay Newton, and he went into detail about a Facebook page called FAAC, Fishermen Against Asian Carp. Do you know of this page, Mark?
Yes, I do, and it's kind of like the Bass Boating Central page. There's a lot of topics that get brought up there. It's just a topic page, and they do post some really reliable information. But you do get some viewpoints that kind of stray from whatever viewpoint's being talked about on Fishermen Against Asian Carp. I'm a member of that page, and I follow it. The one page that I would say where you're going to get the absolute truth on everything is War on Carp or waroncarp.com. That is the website, waroncarp.com, and War on Carp, the Facebook page. That is coming from Judge Wade White. That is all updates about what has been done, what we've done politically, what we're doing locally, what we've accomplished, whatever new contract we've got to send these carp wherever. We're sending carp to Maine for lobster bait. We're sending carp for food in restaurants. Here on Kentucky Lake, I've had it on the menu as Kentucky Lake grouper. So what you get from War on Carp is absolute results where you'll have more conversations on Fishermen Against Asian Carp on that particular page.
Okay.
But the War on Carp is absolutely more of where we are and where we're going.
Okay. He mentioned in this email that he sent to me about a product, a pesticide called Bio Bullets for Asian Carp. What do you know about that?
I don't know much about that. I assume it's the one that he's talking about, and I'm only making an assumption. That is a little small pellet that goes in the water column. It's semi-buoyant, and when an Asian carp ingests that, it kills that fish. That is. There's been no studies done with that I'm aware of. There may have been. I'm not sure of. I don't have a lot of that. I'm hearing a lot of chatter about that here in this area. But that's an FDA issue, and you know how long it takes to get stuff through FDA.
Yeah.
So right now, the only bullet we have are the bioacoustical fencing, closing of locks, and commercial fishing. That's what we have to deal with right now, and that's the only viable bullets we have. There's a koi virus that was used in Australia to kill the European carp, which was very successful. But they're going to have to do studies here. That's an EPA issue. And then here's the real problem, what we have, guys. We have Kentucky Lake, who is governed by TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. Then you have the Cumberland River, Barkley Lake, which is governed by the Corps of Engineers. Now, the Corps of Engineers has such a strict doctrine and a handbook that they have to go by of laws. Corps of Engineers and TVA have their own sets of rules, and they don't speak the same language, and it's very difficult to work together on something like this. So I was amazed when Wade White, the state parks of Kentucky, TVA, and the state of Kentucky all worked together to get an ice machine built below the dam on Kentucky Lake for the commercial fishermen to use to ice their fish. That was amazing that TVA got involved in that and helped us out on that. That was really a 2+2 there where they got involved. That's the first that I've known of it because they have such stringent guidelines, and those guidelines don't often marry up with what the Corps of Engineers are doing. So there's the legalities and the legal jargon that I learned in Washington, D.C. that we have to fight.
Wow. All right. One more question related to the carp. I'm curious, companies involved in this industry, and when I say this industry, I'm talking about the recreational fishing industry, bass fishing, whatever the case might be. Do you know if companies, organizations, Bass, FLW, even Major League Fishing, are these entities getting involved to put together PAC money to voice even a greater presence in Washington to make something happen, or is this something that hasn't even been thought of?
I think we're in the beginning stages of that. Yamaha is involved. They have been involved in many different ways with right waters, with bass anglers for salt. They've been involved with the snapper issues for years so that anglers can have a recreational snapper season. So Yamaha is vested, period. They have governmental agency people in there that at Chastain Boulevard in Atlanta at the office at Kennesaw. They have people there designated to work for these issues in governmental causes. So Yamaha's there. Bass is starting to come on board. I've had multiple conversations with Bruce and Chase and Trip Weldon, saying, guys, if we don't do something now, I don't care what the organization is, our major waterways that abut next to the Mississippi rivers, we're not going to be able to host many successful bass tournaments on these waters. Now, I hate to say this, Mark and Matt, but I just had a tournament at Guntersville a month and a half ago. And out there on that river channel break line, off of it, where the break line was in 12, you get down there that 18 over 22 feet deep. I saw returns on my Garmin units that I guarantee you were Asian carp. I guarantee you they were big head carp. I never saw any visually, but I guarantee you that's what they were. And when I saw Ron White in Washington, or not Ron White, sorry, that's the comedian,
Yeah.
Ron Brooks. Ron Brooks in Washington, had a conversation with him. I said, Ron, I saw him at Guntersville. I saw the returns on the depth finder, not in mass numbers, but in wolf packs. And he goes, well, it's logical that they will have moved that far. He says, I hate to hear that. He said, did you get a visual on any? And I said, no. I said, there's been grass carp in there forever. But here, these look like Asian carp, very hard returns, very bright yellow returns on the head of the fish. And when you've got your screen set that way, you can see them. Now, yesterday, I took family and friends on to the Tennessee River, and we ran from Paducah to Kentucky Dam, and there was some sort of a fish kill. And you would see 2 to 8 pound Asian carp floating down the river in a moderate number, enough that it caught your attention. It wasn't like you just saw 1 or 2 out there swimming or out there dead, but every quarter mile you'd see 4 or 5 fish. And as I got closer to the dam, I saw less and less of it, but there were plenty of dead Asian carp swimming. And we did have one, as we were idling, we did have one jump up in the back of the boat and attack my girlfriend in the back of the boat. And there's slime everywhere on the back of my skeeter boat, which it stinks. I left it outside last night. It smells so bad. So we did have an encounter, and we saw a couple jump and had one get in the boat. And fortunately, I saw a few dead ones. So any dead one's a good one, guys. That's all I can tell you.
I just have one fishing-related question before we let you go. I'm sure Mark might have a couple questions too, but
Sure.
It's an interesting year on the Elite Series with the 75 anglers, to where you find yourself just outside the top 10 in the standings, but with 3 regular season tournaments left and then the Angler of the Year Championship, you're only 44 points out of the Angler of the Year race heading up after the about month and a half long break. So have you put any thought into the Angler of the Year race, what you're expecting these next 2 events up north, and then finishing the season in Oklahoma and Michigan?
Well, Matt, I'm thrilled to be in the position that I'm in. The way the points move down, I'm really honing in on that classic spot. That's what I really want to do. I want to be at Guntersville for the 50th Bassmaster Classic and be a participant. And that reality is becoming a little more real at each event. And I look at the 40-point difference between where I'm at in Angler of the Year, and I kick myself in the behind because of Lake Lanier. That's where I really had a stumble. I found a school of largemouth that were the right fish, and I just felt like those largemouth might be a better bet than the spots because there was nobody fishing them, Matt. And they suspended off the side of the roadbed I was fishing, and they in the mud, and they never showed up there where I could catch them. And I caught an 11-pounder there in practice. I'd just come from the St. John's catching those 8s, 9s, and 10s, and I caught a fish in practice that was much bigger. So I felt like I would get a big bite a day up that river, and it just didn't happen. And I knew to go catch 5 spots, Matt. I knew to go catch them. And had I caught 5 spots a day, that would be my 40 points. But I can't cry over spilt milk. But being an angler, I'm going to do it anyway. But I'm just going to take one tournament at a time, because I need to get through it to get the Classic qualified for, and I'm not far from accomplishing that. So I'm like I said, I'm very proud of that. And then if I get a chance to go for the throat, I certainly am going to make sure, but I'm going to be steady Eddie and keep hitting those singles and doubles and try to stretch a couple to triples for these next 4 events. And hell, who knows? I mean, it could change. I mean, we got a great group of guys up there in that top bunch of fishermen and a bunch of young guys that are making their name. They're cutting their teeth. They're all college guys and former college bass anglers, and they are unbelievably great fishermen. You don't know their names yet very well, but you're starting to. Patrick Walters, Drew Cook, kids like that. I mean, Drew Cook is as good a fisherman as I've been around in a long time. And these guys are doing it on their own, and they're going and doing the practice. It's really impressive to watch these kids at work. So I'm just being the old slow guy that I am, just fishing on up there, not in any hurry, just catching every bite that I can get, and I will continue to try to do that.
All right, on the instant feedback, Austin has a question about Neely Henry. He says the summer is winding down, and he's really struggling on Neely Henry. Any advice for Austin on Neely Henry?
Well, Neely Henry is a river run lake where current is a big factor. So one of the things that's happened is the largemouth population there has gotten better. I made my first classic there, guys, years ago, and it was basically a spotted bass dominated fishery. Now the largemouth have really made a push. It's taken 17 to 20 pounds a day to win a tournament there, and they've got a lot of what I call ironweed, which is water willow, that same old good stuff you guys have up there on the ditch in the Arkansas River up there. You need to fish ultra shallow, get in that thick ironweed, and either A, punch through that stuff in the thick mats with a heavyweight, or B, flip something with an extremely light weight in that shallow water, like a game hog with an 1/8-ounce sinker on the outside edges of that, and you'll start finding that you're going to catch more of those. And make sure you're fishing ironweed that is really close to the river so those fish can get a taste of that current as it goes by, and that's a pretty confident way to catch them there.
All right, Mark, I was really busy at ICAST. I did not see you there. Were you at ICAST?
I was here in Paducah, Kentucky, which was good. I had an emergency come up that I had to take care of, so I was not at ICAST.
Okay. The theme of ICAST was there were a lot of Ned rigs or
Ned rig, the
just
do nothing
just
worm.
an abundance of that, and then kayaks was the other thing. How much experience do you have in a kayak?
None.
I mean,
none.
Do you want to do that? Is that something that you kind of sat back one time and go, I want to get the kayak thing going?
Well, I would, Mark, and if for me to do it because my elbows are in such bad shape, I'm going to have one of those foot-powered one or an electrical-powered one.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'll be able to do it, because I can't paddle that. I think it would be a lot of fun. I think it's a great way to get to unpressured waters, either small streams or small bodies of water. I really think it's cool to see that. I'm a trolling motor dude, and the other topic was trolling motors.
Yeah.
And it looks like we've had an abundance of those come to forefront too. So, but I would really enjoy it if I could physically do it. I just can't physically do it as easily.
All right, man.
It sounds like one of those deals where Mark's not going to be in a kayak unless a kayak company steps up.
No, that's not it. That has nothing to do with it. I don't think so, man.
No.
You know who's obsessed with it right now is Justin Lucas. And I gave him some grief. I texted him. I said, how much are they paying you to go kayak fishing every day? He goes, dude, I love it. He's like, I absolutely love it.
It's a huge trend right now, Mark.
It is. I mean, it's opening up a lot of waters that you can't take a 20-foot bass boat in, and it's quiet. It's real intimate. You're down on the water close. You're close to the fish, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I've got some waters right here within 5 miles of my house. I've got a creek that runs behind my house that the lower end of it leads into the Ohio River. And dude, you talk about some fantastic spotted bass fishing. I'm talking 3-pounders.
Wow.
And the creek is not as wide as a boat and truck. trailer and a boat. So I wade that creek an awful lot. I do a lot of wading in the summertime, just wade that creek, and it's close and it's fun. And small waters can be a lot of fun. And plus you can use lighter tackle and 6 and 8 pound line, little worms and things like that, and get a lot of bites. And that's what it's all about.
All right, last fishing question, and then we'll let you go. I'm curious what your thoughts are about wrapping up the season here in Oklahoma on Fort Gibson Lake.
Well, it's been a trying time with the flooding and the rescheduling, and unfortunately that tournament got rescheduled at a more difficult fishing time. Most likely, the fall can be kind of scattered and fishing will be a little bit tougher there. I'm glad to come back to Fort Gibson. It'll be my second trip there. I think it's a fabulous lake. It really, really, you go to some lakes, Mark, and you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to catch them here or not. But when I pulled up there, I caught them in the first 30 minutes when we had that rescheduled one practice day and then a tournament there. I caught them real fast. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good tournament. It'll be a fair tournament. Everybody's going to have the same amount of opportunity. So let's get after it. And I'm glad we're going to be able to come back to Fort Gibson because of all the flooding that they've had there and the loss of economics, that we can come in there and put a little boost in there and help things. But it is a good lake. There's a lot of fish in it. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Now I'm going to hate to drive over to the Angler of the Year tournament because that's a long turn away to Detroit, but I'm looking forward to that one too. That's probably the favorite tournament. But then I'm going to fish one more tournament, Mark. I'm going to the U.S. Open.
Nice.
It's a bucket list thing for me. I've got a group that I'm going with, and I'm going with the folks at Bridgeford Foods. And they got me in the tournament and be hanging with those guys and going to fish the deal. And only been to Meade one time, and that was in 1999 in the top 150. And this opportunity came up, and I said, I'm in. Like I said, it's a bucket list thing. I just want to go do it at least one time before I get too old to not be able to fish. So I've got 5 tournaments, guys, to go to this fall. So
very nice.
Then we'll hang it up and rest some. So, but I'm looking really forward to going out there with the Bridgeford people and fishing that event. That'll be fun to fish with those guys.
It's going to be a ridiculous field this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's filled up. It's filled up in one day, Matt.
Yeah, it'll be a ridiculously talented field.
Yeah. Well, $100,000 and a boat. I mean, geez.
Right, and that's where competitive fishing basically got its start, with the first Bassmasters Classic being there in 1971. So what a great deal. The tournament has built itself back up over the last few years to be a marquee event and a standalone event. And I would love to see it return to that favor that it once had back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s of being that marquee event. So I'm like I said, I'm really looking forward to that, to get a chance to go out there and play in that gin clear water and big blue skies, and I just hope the winds don't blow because that place gets so darn rough.
I will tell you, the slots at the host hotel, very tight. Do not play them.
We're staying in a different place, so
you'll still be tempted though. You have to go in for the meeting.
Oh yeah. I have a friend that built the MGM Grand. He built the Luxor and was the general manager at the Circus. So I might have a little inside, Matt, on how to beat those slots. So I've been successful doing that before.
There you have it. All right, Mark, man, can't thank you enough for coming on and giving us some insight on your trip to Washington. Sounds like there's a long way to go, but you've kind of become the face of this whole thing, and look forward to the progress that you and everybody involved with this going forward, and hopefully we can continue the process.
Well, I hope so, Mark, and I hate that it's my ugly face being the person leading the charge, but I will be going back to Capitol Hill. I will continue to beat on these people's doors and say, look, if we don't act now, this is something that we're never going to arrest or slow down or manage. I want fishing to be as good on the tail end of my career as it was when I started. I want it to be better than when I started, and I just feel this innate responsibility to get this done. And if I can help and make make it better for somebody else to be able to catch a few more fish in their lifetime, then I will have been successful. So I'm on it. I'm going to continue to fight it. The folks at Yamaha and I are teaming up on this, and we're not going to stop. It is that important of an issue where it affects all of us. And doggone, I mean, it affects our country so much. The Mississippi River drainage drains about 40% of our country. And if we see economic losses to the numbers I was talking about earlier, that's going to put a real burden on us. I mean, I know property values on Kentucky Lake are taking a dip. People are trying to sell property. I have a lot there that I'm trying to sell as a retirement deal, and I can't move it because of the property values dipping down. So it was going to get me a chance to retire early. but I'm going to have to keep on trucking because the value of it is going down quickly. So those are the things that'll get the congressman's ear, and I will continue to twist and push and poke and prod on behalf of everybody that loves to catch a bass.
All right, man. Looking forward to seeing you at Fort Gibson.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great afternoon.
All right, take care. All right, there you have it. Mark Menendez, pretty good insight. I mean, a huge challenge.
Yeah, sounds like they're getting somewhere, though.
Yeah. And he has become, do you agree, kind of the face of this whole thing?
Oh, yeah, 100%. The most recognizable guy who stepped out, actually not just doing interviews about it like with us and stuff, but actually taking his time. And, I mean, I'm guessing he didn't get paid to go to Capitol Hill.
No.
Paid to go to any of these meetings or anything. I mean, this is all on his end. He's got a vested interest because
he's having a good year, though. Obviously, it's not taken away from his success on the water.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he said, I mean, the coast of there in April was atrocious, but there were still mid 20-pound bags, and there's still 18 to 20-pound bags getting weighed in on Kentucky Lake now, and a lot of those are 3 and 4 fish tournaments because of the summer. So, we need to try that sometime.
What's that?
In one of our road adventures, we need to find somewhere that has silverfin or Kentucky Lake grouper or Asian carp and go in. You can eat fish. That's on your diet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not be opposed to trying it.
Yeah.
I should have instantly killed and kept the one that I caught in the Costa there in the practice.
How did you catch it?
I snagged it on a trap.
Really?
A striking red-eye trap. Right at the boat. I hooked probably like 20 of them.
How big was it? The one, did you get it in?
Yeah, 5-6 pounder.
Really?
I mean, good sized fish. I mean,
hey, I want to say this about the week that I just spent in New York. I went to some areas, Matt, that I had been to before, but never. I didn't spend as much time behind the wheel driving and looking at places in New York. I mean, we basically did a circle around New York.
Would you fly in and then rent a car?
Yeah, without going to New York City or up toward where Lake Champlain is. I wanted to see some areas that I just hadn't seen before. The amount of water that is in New York is unbelievable. The number of lakes and the outdoors availability to fish and hunt. I knew it was good, but I had no idea that it was that good. And those people up there, for whatever number of months a year that they get to enjoy that from a fishing standpoint, you guys have a gift.
Yeah, they earn it, though, because of the months that they can enjoy it.
Yeah. It is an unbelievable place. And I think so many people think that when you say New York, you think of New York City, but there's so much of that state that I fell in love with it. It's unbelievable the outdoors and the opportunities that the outdoorsman has in the state of New York.
And I guess I've forgotten, it's been a while since you had been up in that neck of the woods. I've been fortunate enough the last couple years, with the Elite Series doing the Waddington swing. Now, they kind of did that contract with the city of Waddington. There's always been like a tournament and then an off week and then the Waddington. So I've actually, the last 3 or 4 years, gotten to spend 2-3 weeks up in that part of New York, kind of going up along that coast. And I honestly am really depressed that I'm not going to get to do that trip this summer. I had talked to you about possibly doing it, trying to figure out some reason for me to go up there for the Elite Series. I'm still trying to finagle my way to see if there's some way that I can get up there and spend a couple weeks, because it is, when people ask me, where's your favorite place in the United States? I say upstate New York.
Yeah.
It's
unbelievable.
It has a different feel than that northern Minnesota, Canada kind of boundary waters wilderness, but it's got its own vibe to it up there. And it is, you get around the Syracuse area and stuff, and it can get a little traffic-y and things, but man, you get out there around the Finger Lakes with the smaller and then the Champlain, and then up around the St. Lawrence and that Canadian border. It's hard to beat.
Unbelievable place. And the other thing that I did not realize, the amount of farming that takes place in the state.
Yeah.
There were cornfields everywhere.
Everyone's super nice up there.
Yeah.
There's small towns. I mean, it's
I called them Hallmark towns. Some of the towns that we went through, everybody had a U.S. flag on their porch. I've never seen as many U.S. American flags that I saw on this trip.
If you're an angler from down south, Oklahoma, it's a 21 hour drive there. But if you're down there in this area, one time in your life, and you got to call. I've done this the last several years. It's like an unscheduled vacation. Now I was doing work for the guys, so but my dream would be to have 2 weeks, and you take the boat and you drive up and you start there at Lake Erie in Ohio. Right there where Michael Simonton is. You spend some time on that. You're not talking about giant water. You can get out there and Sandusky and stuff like that and fish. And then you can go up and you can hit the whole way up, different parts of Lake Erie. You can go up to Buffalo. You can hit the St. Lawrence River. You can hit Champlain. You can come back down and do Oneida, Onondaga, all that. And regardless of whether it's windy, it's rainy, it blows, or it's calm, you can either do Great Lakes fishing, you can do river fishing, current, largemouth, smallmouth. It's really cool. The only thing is you'll spend $120 in tolls once you get into New York. But other than that, it's legit. It's a super, super special part of the country.
Yeah. I want to go back. In fact, we have the opportunity to go back in the month of May in 2020, and I talked to you a little bit about that. So more to come on that on down the road with hopefully we'll be able to do some cool stuff. I want to thank Tom once again for his schedule. I had no idea whether or not I was going to be able to go, and I want to thank Tom for taking me out on Lake Oneida or Oneida Lake. Which one is it?
Still not sure.
Yeah.
10 years after the first argument.
We still don't know. Anyway, just a fantastic time. It was a great day. The wind did not blow that much, a little breeze, and just a tremendous day. So thank you so much, Tom, for doing that. All right, great show tomorrow. We're going to have Mike Iaconelli on, get his take on his victory on the James River. And I guess he can't talk about what he's doing this week with the Cup.
Can't even say where he is.
Yeah.
Up north.
It is New York because the guy said New York.
There's multiple guys who have posted that they're going to New York for the second Cup. Now, where they are going in New York, who knows?
Yeah. So we'll get Mike on tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, FLW Rookie of the Year, Ron Nelson. So another great week. And you got some work to do, don't you, Matthew? Breaking something in, right? Have you started on that yet?
No. I got to put a couple batteries in it before so it'll actually start.
That might help.
And the new Bass Cat Lynx has made its way to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I shed a tear. I really did. I took a picture of it.
Boat,
I gave the 2018 Puma a hug. I said, thank you for being so good to me.
It's been a great boat.
But now it's time to get comfortable with the 2020 Lynx. It's a coral color. It's a very pretty coral color. You were the one who picked this color out about 8 months ago.
Yeah.
No, about a year ago.
Yeah.
When you first ordered. It's not Texas Longhorns. It's not Oklahoma State Cowboys.
It's not the brightest orange in America.
But it's dangerously close for Sooner guys to be running it. That's why I'm going with it's coral. It's not burnt orange.
Yeah.
It's what do they call the OSU orange? It's
America's brightest orange.
It's close though. But I'm gonna have to put an OU sticker on it just to. It's gonna clash.
I've got several
gonna
of
make
those.
it classy.
There's no problem with that. No problem at all. All right. I want to thank Mark Menendez for taking time out to be on the show today, and it's good to be back in studio. Back tomorrow with Ike. Anything else, Matthew?
Nope.
All right, everybody be safe. We are out of here.